What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about the DXY today at the request of Davey Lance. Davey, we're talking about this one for you. Let's see. I know I've been sitting on this one for a second, meaning to talk about it, but you wanted me to do some long-term analysis, right? Because generally, what's good for the DXY is bad for crypto. What's bad for the DXY is good for crypto, but that's not always the case, right? Not always the case, especially since July, right? We've seen this downtrend. DXY has been moving down. Cool. Crypto's been moving down as well. And actually, if we look at we'll just look at total. Yeah, total, because that's all of crypto, right? Oops, didn't mean to do that. Come on now. New price scale, there we go. Logarithmicize it. All right, so this is total. If we look at it in comparison to the current chart that we're observing, you can see that crypto as a whole kind of started moving down in March, and it actually front ran this chart. They actually started moving in tandem together. And if we were to put the correlation coefficient on there of Bitcoin, let's just say BTC USD all-time history index, apply it there, you can see right now, the DXY is losing value, right, compared to other world currencies, but you're seeing a positive correlation with Bitcoin, as in Bitcoin and crypto are moving down right together. So while yes, ideally, Davey Lance, all this to say, this long kind of introduction into it is saying that yes, ideally, you'll see, I'm not trying to draw lines, man, I'm trying to move the chart. You'll see an inverse relationship, right, where when this thing really starts to take off, that's when the bear market starts. When this thing chills out, that's when the bear market ends, right? When this thing chills out, that's when the bull market starts. Whenever this thing decides to take off, that's when we're in the bear market, right? You can see it. It's very obvious, right, in the charts. And you can downtrend here, uptrend there. It happens, and at large, it generally happens. But right now, we're in a phase where that inverse relationship isn't necessarily established, and maybe it comes into being. Maybe the DXY takes a bit of a dump, and then Bitcoin moves up. But to be completely fair, putting all that aside, because I do expect crypto to move up soon, so that might counteract what I'm about to say here. I think the DXY is at a perfect point to find a low, right? It's at the low end of this kind of consolidation range. I don't know if it's going to go lower. It could break out to the downside. It could break out to the upside. But if this was any other chart, I'd say this is a good area to go long for the upside, right? Like you're at it's probably a perfect area to do that. I want to see the daily RSI. Daily RSI looking like it just broke a long-term or a intermediate-term downtrend, right? Like you broke this little downtrend here. You just broke that, right? That's a good thing. That's really a good thing. That doesn't mean that you're moving up right now, although you are, right? It doesn't mean you're going to do that. You could dilly-dally for a second and then really rip, but I would think that you're moving up higher. So that's probably a good thing rather than it being a bad thing, because again, Bitcoin and crypto are more correlated to the DXY in the current time frame than they are not actually. They're not directly correlated, but there is positive correlation there, right? I can pull that indicator up again if you want to see it. Let's do it this time with total, right? I don't know why I'm having dyslexia and I can't spell total. Let's apply it there. Yeah, even more positive than Bitcoin, right? The DXY has it even on the monthly, on the daily. I guess not on the daily, but on the weekly it does. And maybe that changes. Maybe that changes. Maybe it starts to lose its correlation because the DXY goes up and crypto goes down, or vice versa, right? DXY goes down, crypto goes up. But based off of what I'm seeing in the chart, what I would expect personally is that the DXY moves up from here. I'm not calling for it to do anything like this, right? Here, I'll show you. I'm not calling for it to do this or this. I don't expect an expansion phase right now. I would more expect something, similar to like these moves in between where you move up to the resistance points, right? Ultimately, I would expect you're working your way down to this green line, this 123 green line here. You're very close to it. I think that you're going to work your way down there, but you're just not ready yet. Perhaps you mess around in this range until the green line finally like comes up to you, and that would make sense to me, because I really do expect that the DXY is going to be range bound. It's going to be trapped in here. It's in its consolidation phase for multiple years, right? For several years to come. And where I get that from is that if we take this into consideration, right, the very end of this downtrend here, right, 2008, March 2008, the low, you had your expansion phase up, you broke that downtrend there, right? You didn't get a higher high technically, but you did break the descending trend line, broke that trend, had a higher low, whatever, expanded. You expanded out. This is the greatest move up that you saw throughout this whole downside, right? It's the greatest move up that you saw in a very long time, actually, since probably 92, honestly. Once that was done, you consolidated. You moved up still afterwards, right? You had a nice move up there, but it wasn't as big as this. And really, it was just a double top in this overall consolidation range that you had. You didn't break out. You didn't start to expand until 69 months later, right? Here you are expanding again. You did go higher, but that's not, I would say this was the end of your expansion phase. This is a higher high, absolutely, but that's not, this, in my opinion, I'm going to put this over here for a second. This whole thing is a consolidation phase, right? You can kind of see it. Even though that's a higher high, yes, even though you continue to grow after this point, I think it's fair to say that the expansion phase ended here, personally, right? Because then it started to chill and just standard volatility is what we'd call it. You didn't start your next expansion phase until here, which is 75 months later, 69 months, 75 months, you know, it's not the best thing to go off of, I suppose. But if we were to look at the current time, because it's only 2 iterations, right? We don't have a whole lot of data to back that up. From the end of this expansion phase to where we are now, we're only 24 months in. So that's already less than half of this consolidation phase, definitely less than half of this, almost like a third of this consolidation phase, actually. Or is it? It is a third. It's actually less than a third of that consolidation phase, right? I'm doing my math right, yes. It's around a third, but less than a third. All I'm trying to say is it wouldn't make sense to me that we see the DXY do an expansion phase anytime soon. So with that in mind, this bull cycle I would expect is safe in SAFU. I do think that we don't need, I believe this very strongly, right? Especially if you were watching the beginning of the video, paying attention there, you really know, I feel like it's easy to comprehend this, that we don't need the DXY to dump in order for the bull market to take place. We don't need that, right? And actually, I'm going to show you that now. I know I did that before, but let's just do it again. Do it real quick. All over the place, right? Like here, 2015 to 2017, we had that was like the last great bull run, right? That happened in the middle of a consolidation phase, right? And yes, the blow off top happened in a decrease phase. That helps. It definitely helped. But we had a lot of bull market, right? Here's whenever it started to drop off, was this line right here, right? We had a good bit of the bull market before. Just the most phenomenal phase happened when the DXY was dropping. There's no argument there, right? But that doesn't mean you don't need this in order to have upside. You don't need it, right? And then, I don't know, you go back to this bull market here, right? The last part of your bull market was still in the consolidation phase there. So that's just kind of what I would expect, really, is that the DXY, being that I would expect that it's in a consolidation phase, I think it has set up some pretty fine parameters for that, right? Already at the low point here. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw this thing go above these highs. It could on this next move. I wouldn't be too surprised if it went below the lows either, right? These things are kind of wide consolidation phases, right? You can see that pretty wide, right? They're not these tight little bubbles. So being that we're at the bottom of this bubble and looking like we're finding support and looking good and looking like we want to move up, it stands the question, or I guess the thought comes to mind that perhaps the DXY is working its way up to new relative highs that it hasn't seen in the past like year or so. It might be. It could be doing that right now. I'm not calling for that. That's not my call. My call personally, again, just to end the video here to keep things concise, is that we're at the base of this range, okay? We're going to move up. How high do we go? We could go to a slightly lower high. We could go to a pretty flush high. We could even see a higher high. It's possible, but up nonetheless. Something that I would expect is at least around 105. You're at 101.669. These don't seem like significant numbers, but it is. Remember that bull market, right? Remember that 2017 bull market? And it happened during this was a drop from 104 down to 88. That's not, I mean, somewhat significant, but over that much time from the course of 2017. Oh, wait. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, 2016 to 2017. In the course of a year, like that's a pretty long time to drop that amount right there. It's pretty small for the amount of time. So anyways, all I'm trying to say is, what was I trying to say? Don't be scared. It's not the end of the bull run if we see higher readings than we've seen in over the past year. And don't be scared if we're going up, because actually we've been going down in tandem with the DXY, so we might go up in tandem as well. Definitely get excited if we see some kind of huge sell-off. That would be nice, but I'm not expecting anything too crazy. Again, I'm not really expecting that we see anything lower than the 123, which at this point in time would be about 97 on the DXY. That's my personal expectation. And then if we take it, I don't know, man, if we look at it like this too, though, previous highs, right? You found support there. You found support right at your previous highs. Previous highs. Hey, you're finding support there. I'm just saying, you know, like maybe we're in the lower areas of this more grandiose consolidation phase. Maybe it has more upside to go. That won't hurt the bull market, right? But might not be the most ideal. I want to look at this one more time. Hold on, because I know that there was a phase here. Is this on crypto? Oh, I don't want crypto. Sorry, I want the all-time history index. There we go. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's not really fair. You had an expansion phase with the DXY here, and Bitcoin was going up, but that was like early Bitcoin, so I don't know if that's fair. Here, you had an expansion, right? Yeah, and this could be exactly what we're about to experience now, right? In this consolidation phase, a higher high, right? Since we've entered the consolidation phase, could be what we see. And even in the midst of this higher high from May 16th, let's just measure that, right? On this chart up here, the Bitcoin chart, May 2016, until the top right here. Come on now. Bitcoin moved up. It moved up a little bit there, didn't it? If we look at it for what it's worth, let's blow this up. Let's really blow this up here. Right? In this time frame, it went down a little bit. It was stagnant for a little bit, but it actually moved up a good bit, right? Went from a price of, at the beginning of this move, the price was 543. At the end of this move for the DXY, specifically, not the end of the move for Bitcoin, but the end of the move for the DXY, the price was, come on, man, give it to me. Let's see, 968. It went from 543 to 968, right? Like that's pretty decent gains in that amount of time for the DXY going up, right? It's not that crazy for Bitcoin, like seeing that amount going from, what was it? I guess actually, oh, I'm sorry, I read that wrong. 530. So 530, because I've got the numbers up here, going from 530 to 968 in the course of 8 months. That's really not that spectacular for Bitcoin, but it shows that you can still have somewhat decent growth. And if Bitcoin sees that kind of growth over the next 8 months, I'm sure altcoins would do well too. You can still see decent growth even in a phase up, right? Not so much in an expansion phase, right? We haven't, that tends to be bad. It tends to not be good for crypto, but in a move up in a consolidation phase, standard volatility, when we're already showing somewhat of a similarity in movements, relatively speaking. I mean, I don't know. So all that to say, man, it's a very long, drawn-out video with a bunch of different metrics to take a look at and to take into consideration. But really, the main point is just I think it's going up. I think we're keeping it simple. Looking at this, you had your expansion phase up. It's over. You're consolidating now. You're at the base of your consolidation range, so likely you're going to go up. That's my bet. It's my safe bet, right? I'm not calling for you to break out to the upside. I'm just saying don't be scared if you do. It could happen. This is a very tight consolidation phase for what we've seen over the past couple decades now. So don't be scared if we go up. It doesn't, just because it's tight doesn't mean it has to be big. And maybe it stays like this for the coming years. Maybe it keeps doing this. Who knows? It's been doing this now, really. I mean, since January of 2023, it's been doing this. It could keep doing it for another year or two. Who knows? But up nonetheless. Up. With that, I leave you. Have a good night. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to see more content. Thank you. Bye-bye.